Hello and welcome to another action-packed, exciting hour of the Smoky Mountain Wrestling Re-Watch-Along Project. This is podcasting the way it used to be and the way you like it. This show is a production of the Something Else Podcast Network, and it is episode number 061 of Smoky Mountain Wrestling from March 27th, 1993, March 1st, 1993, at the Caton's Chapel Elementary School in Sevierville, Tennessee. My name is Arya, and welcome to the show. And of course, joining us as always is the Dr. Dutch Mantell to my Bob Caudle, the Brian Matthews to my, there's nobody else on the show to compare me to, Bullet Bob. It's Trey. Trey, how you doing?
Why do you get to be Bullet Bob?
Because you had to be Brian Matthews. If I would have said you were Bullet Bob to my Brian Matthews, you would have said, why do I get to be Brian Matthews?
Starting to feel like you don't respect me at all.
Of course I respect you. I would never, I would never say you weren't Bullet Bob Armstrong. You can be Bullet Bob Armstrong if you like. I'll be Brian Matthews.
I don't care.
Brian Matthews.
I don't care. It does make me feel better though that I would only be like the fourth most mentally unhinged person in this territory.
Bullet Bob or Brian Matthews?
No, I mean, like if I were in this territory,
oh, okay,
I would only be like fourth, maybe. Like Kevin Sullivan, Ron Fuller. I don't know. Who else is fucking crazy on here?
Mr. Ron Wright.
Ron Wright is amazing.
By the way, Ron Fuller is not on this show.
Robert Fuller. I got my Fullers mixed up. I think Ron is fairly mentally stable. Robert is a crazy.
Honestly, I'd rather have Robert on the show than Ron.
You think so?
Oh God, yeah. Do you really think that like our level of zaniness, for lack of a better word, would be better with Ron or Rob?
Yeah, no, you're not gonna get. It's not gonna be as unhinged with Ron around. But he's left the business and is running minor league hockey teams at this point.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, in case you've never checked out our fine audio program, first of all, what the hell are you waiting for? But secondly, what we do here on this show, it is really quite simple. Just without 3 pages of rules flashing in front of your face. We watch every single episode of Smoky Mountain Wrestling, beginning with episode number 1 on February 1st, 1992, and we go all the way live until episode number 200 on November 26th, 1995. We talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent, the so-so, the okay, the tremendous, the wonderful, the out of this world, the unforgettable, the stuff you don't know, the stuff you've already forgotten, the good, the bad, the in-between. We talk about the matches, we listen to some promos, we watch some angles, and we ultimately have some fun for the next hour or so talking about some Smoky Mountain Wrestling. And then at the end of the show, to tie the show together, I tell you what else is happening in the world of wrestling, because I can tell you March 27th, 1993, until I'm blue in the face. But, it helps for me to tell you, so you're like, oh, that happened? I remember that. And it all comes together. And this is information you only find out right here or by like reading the issue of the Observer that came out that week. But yeah.
We're a little over a week out from WrestleMania 9.
Yes, and that is one of the actually WrestleMania 9 is some of the big stories of the week this week, and we'll get to that in a little bit here. But let's dive right into the action here. With our introduction with Bob Caudle and Dutch Mantell, the real ones, not me and Trey.
Welcome to another exciting, action-packed hour of Smoky Mountain Wrestling. Professional wrestling the way it used to be and the way you like it. What a terrific crowd we have on hand this week for this week's show of Smoky Mountain Wrestling. We've got an exciting card for all you wrestling fans, so you want to be sure and stay right with us. I'm Bob Caudle along with Dirty Dutch Mantell. And Dutch, as I said, we got a great one, the Stud Stable. We're going to see them in action today. We'll also hear from them about the Bluegrass Brawl, which is coming up this Friday. Brian Lee's going to be here, and we'll see some tape from last weekend in Knoxville in his match with Kevin Sullivan. We're also going to see Tracy Smothers in action, and tape of the Dirty White Boy training for a chain match against Tracy Smothers. Rock and Roll Express, Arn Anderson and Cornette, Heavenly Bodies, all are here. What about Down and Dirty, Dutch?
Hey, can I talk now? Okay, on Down and Dirty Day, it's a special edition. I have went on location, and I have talked to Kevin Sullivan about his problems today on location. And pay attention, because we're going to get to the root of Kevin Sullivan's problems today.
Man, I'd like to know that, and I know a lot of other people would too. What about our television champion, our Beat the Champ drawing?
My favorite time, I will now close my eyes, and I will draw Tim Horner's opponent today. His opponent is, I got a good one right there. Right there. What's that say?
Bobby Eaton.
Bobby Eaton will face Tim Horner today and beat the champ for $1,000.
What a match it's going to be, fans. That one and many more. Right now, we're ready to go. Let's go to the ring.
Okay. So the first thing, it's very obvious when I played that audio. This crowd, despite being the third taping of the show, they are still fucking loud as hell. Like, they need to tape every show here at the Caton's Chapel Elementary School in Sevierville, Tennessee. Keep in mind, this is a crowd that minutes ago just saw Kevin Sullivan butcher Wing Kanemaru.
Maybe that's why they were so lively. The bloodlust had been activated.
Maybe they were told that if they weren't loud, Kevin Sullivan would come out and stab them.
Maybe.
So it is the go-home show for the Bluegrass Brawl. And so on this show today, we're going to have a whole bunch of people. But the only match of any note is Tim Horner, our good friend Tim Horner, defending the Beat the Champ TV title against Bobby Eaton. And I don't know what I was expecting, but what we got is not what I expected. We're going to go on location for Down and Dirty with Dutch to see Kevin Sullivan. Yeah,
that was
disappointing.
Very weird follow-up. Very weird follow-up to him almost murdering a guy.
I was more like the on location part was weird. And I was sad after we had the international match on the first show of the taping and the Wing Kanemaru match on the second show of the taping, that we didn't have any random ass shit on this show.
It's disappointing.
Yeah. I was really hoping for another international match.
Yeah.
So the first match here, Stud Stable versus Lynn Fields and Reno Riggins. Brian Matthews, the ring announcer, was way too happy introducing Reno. And Fuller pins Lynn with the Fuller leg lock. Yeah, he pinned Lynn Fields with the Fuller leg lock. It wasn't even a submission. And then he wouldn't let go because, again, Lynn Fields did not submit. So Reno jumped in to break it up, so Golden kicked his ass too. It was a fine opener, and yes, the Reno Riggins push is over, and he is gone from the territory.
He's already started doing jobs in the WWF, and I think he's going to be doing that for at least the rest of the year. Did not know you could pin someone with the Fuller leg lock. That was so cool.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't think Lynn Fields is a member of the family. If he was, I don't think they would have beat him like this.
No. Or maybe this is how they weed out the weak members of the family.
You know, it could be.
Or maybe it was a UFC 6 situation where Lynn Fields threw the match to conserve the energy of Golden and Fuller now 5 days before their big match.
You know what? I'm gonna headcanon that conspiracy theory.
Yeah. See, UFC steals their finishes from UFC steals their finishes from wrestling. Don't you know that?
Everybody knows that.
All right. So Stud Stable, who we last heard talk when Robert Fuller promised that he wasn't going to do the Von Erich thing, finally getting their first promo time since then. And shockingly, suicide comes up again. Let's go to Robert Fuller to discuss that.
All right, Dutch, and right you are. And fans, let's get the Stud Stable over here. Jimmy Gold and Robert Fuller this Friday night. You know, we got the Bluegrass Brawl.
Talk about Friday night, Pikeville, Kentucky.
Yes, sir.
The last time I was in Pikeville, Kentucky, I swore that'd be my last time in Kentucky, brother. But I'm coming back one more time. I wouldn't miss this one for the world, brother. When we got a street fight with them beautiful heavenly bodies and the rock and roll and Arn Anderson boys, this is our chance for the Stud Stable to take it all home. We beat all you punks before, and we can do it again right there in Pikeville, Kentucky. Big hero superstars. You know something? My mama saw me on TV a couple weeks ago, said, Robert, don't kill yourself, kill somebody else. Buster, I got just a match to get it done. I'm gonna be guaranteeing you big-time superstars, baby. You coming down to Tennessee dogfighting country, and Daddy, you best be able to do it.
All right, fans, it's going to be the Bluegrass Brawl.
All right. So the last couple of weeks has been so weird because I've mentioned pretty much since the start of this feud that the best parts of this feud have been the Stud Stable and the Heavenly Bodies. But since Arn Anderson came in, the Stud Stable has been reduced to essentially nothing. You know, I don't want to say nothing.
Anderson role.
Yeah, but it's like the Stud Stable, like they were barely on the show when Arn came in because it was all about the Heavenly Bodies and the rock and roll. Actually, I think they did run out, but it's like it was like such an afterthought type thing. And then last week they weren't even on the show at all, as I forgot to press mute there as I tried to find the next timestamp. Now they're like cutting the first promo here. They got a minute, and I mean it was what it was, but it's like they really. I was disappointed by the last few weeks of the Stud Stable. I don't know about you.
Well, don't kill yourself, kill someone else.
Yes. That's the important thing to remember. And Jimmy Golden, because I guess at this point, because they've been tweeners more than anything else in this feud, because really only the Heavenly Bodies have been the out and out heels of the group. But like the last few weeks, especially since Arn came in, like they've been less tweener, more heel. And
yeah,
this was one of those promos.
I was reading them as heels.
Yeah. Well, they were more tweener at the start because the Heavenly Body, they were both heels. And, you know, somebody had to at least lean in that direction. And and honestly, I think, I don't remember exactly where everything goes from here, but I think they continue their babyface turn as I call any babyface turn that doesn't really happen. It's a maybe-face turn.
I like it.
Yes.
Robert's going to be in WCW real soon, though, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm sure he's in there before it, but Slamboree, he brings out Sid to wrestle Van Hammer, and Slamboree's in May.
Oh God, Van Hammer sucks so fucking bad.
See, I thought you were saying, "Oh God," because of Sid.
No, God, I've been watching the 1993 WCW Saturday Night, and it's so bad. God, it's so bad. Like every now and then you'll get a Vader squash, and it's cool, but most of it just sucks. But I have this does raise an important question, I think.
What's that?
Are we going to watch the Bluegrass Brawl?
I'm still saying no because I know they air highlights not next week, because next week is the day after the Bluegrass Brawl, and they're not going to edit stuff in that quickly. But the next 2 weeks after that, I believe, are dedicated to highlights from the Bluegrass Brawl. So, I mean, I wasn't planning on watching it. I mean, maybe if, like, you know, I shoot ahead and try to watch the next few weeks of episodes and see what they actually give us and figure things out from there. But at least I was planning on just reviewing what the TV shows give us. I mean, hey, if you want to watch the Bluegrass Brawl and report to us what they don't show us, by all means.
Oh, there you go.
Larry Santo versus Primetime Brian Lee. And before Trey breaks the news, Larry Santo died like 3 weeks ago, as reported on this show 2 weeks ago, and then last week when Trey said, "Hey, did you know Larry Santo died?" So,
did you know Larry Santo died?
yes, that might become the running gag of this show. Every week we have to report that Larry Santo died, and it's not funny. Wish all the best to Larry Santo's family. But
have you ever seen the Twitter account "Is Tess Still Dead"?
I have not seen the Twitter account "Is Tess Still Dead."
That is a real account.
So is Tess still dead?
Yeah, every now and then it'll just tweet yes.
Okay, is Tess still dead?
So we need to start a weekly update. Is Larry Santo still dead?
Well, I don't. Oh my God. So the most recent updates from January 30th, where it says yes, still dead. But I broke out in laughter because I scrolled down a little bit, and August 29th, 2022, they just have a 1 second video of Tess nodding his head.
That's fantastic.
Wow. Oh, apparently April 1st, 2022, no. But that's probably an April Fool's joke.
What a shame.
September 17th, 2021, yes, fuck Ric Flair and Tommy Dreamer. So I imagine that's when the Plane Ride from Hell Dark Side aired. Is Tess still dead? Yes. Is Moxley? No.
No, that's good news.
Yeah. I love that. Yes, I've got to sit here and read through the "Is Tess still dead?" as opposed to talking about Primetime Brian Lee winning with a cancellation, which was more about how they've changed the stipulations to the match between him and Sullivan at the Bluegrass Brawl. I don't remember if there was an actual stipulation before this, but it's now going to be another Russian roulette match.
Yeah, I don't think there was a stipulation announced before.
Yeah, the only stip I remember before was Horner and Night Stalker being handcuffed to the corners, which I'm assuming still happens.
Huh.
Yeah, I guess you'll have to watch and let us know.
I guess I will.
They show us highlights of the March 21st Russian roulette match with Phil Rainey and Dutch Mantell doing commentary. And this was the match, as we mentioned. It's a Spike would be hiding in a box. You had to find the box with it in it. Unfortunately, there was no blow-up dolls or pictures of Scott Hall in the boxes. The boxes are just empty.
Unfortunate.
Now, Night Stalker creeps to the ring, and Horner cuts him off. I think Horner tried to spear Night Stalker through the ropes, but Night Stalker couldn't make it. Although maybe that was what was supposed to happen because it distracts the referee. Now, around a month ago or so, when Night Stalker had his first match for the Beat the Champ TV title that he won from Tracy Smothers, his theme song was the Taz theme song that we all know and love.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. Suddenly, Taz shows up in Smoky Mountain. He ran to the ring.
The Tasmaniac. See there. I would be like the sixth most mentally unstable person there because you got Kevin Sullivan, you got Jim Cornette, you got Ron Wright, you got Robert Fuller, and the Tasmaniac.
So the Tasmaniac ran to the ring. I gotta say, this was a bit of a creative finish, I thought, and they didn't name the Tasmaniac, and really, if you didn't know who it was, you wouldn't know who it was. You just saw a crazy barefoot guy in one-piece singlet hit the ring. Because the other three boxes have been open, and Primetime and Sullivan are wrestling in one corner, Night Stalker and Horner are in the other corner with the referee, and Taz runs into the ring, grabs the Spike, and puts it in a different box. And so when Primetime Brian Lee gets the best of Sullivan, he goes for the Spike, and it's not there because you see the crazy Tasmania, he moved it. And despite that, Primetime Brian Lee still got it from Sullivan and spiked Kevin until Sullivan threw, and I quote, a big ball of flame at Primetime Brian Lee, which is also known by normal people as a fireball, for the win.
It was a big ball of flame.
Yes. Phil Rainey was not lying, although it may have been Dutch that said it, but I think it was a Phil Rainey thing. Now, you haven't been here for Phil Rainey, have you?
No.
Okay, so Phil Rainey, I don't know what his shoot job is. I imagine he's a legitimate news anchor because he's got a news anchor voice. And he makes sporadic appearances, sometimes doing the local show commercial things, and sometimes, like last year when they were debuting the Heavenly Bodies, they did a series of skits with Cornette taking Phil Rainey to show him the Heavenly Bodies, but there was always some shenanigans happening, so you couldn't see the Heavenly Bodies. Like when they went to Hooters, and the Hooters girls were all over the Heavenly Bodies, so you couldn't see them in the corner, and it was all Phil Rainey's fault. And, Phil was just a great straight man for Cornette.
How did the Hooters girls look in East Tennessee?
I don't mean this to disparage anybody, but when you think about Hooters, you tend to think of voluptuous breasts, and most of these girls were not as generously gifted up top.
That's unfortunate.
Yes.
I did not expect the Tasmaniac.
Neither did I. Like, I would have bet you money that Taz would never show up in Smoky Mountain Wrestling, and I would have lost this money.
I didn't. Is that the money that David Von Erich and Jimmy Garvin were fighting for?
Yes. You see, I went back in time and stole the money since they couldn't decide who should get the money. I let them keep the Texas title belt because I didn't really need that, and I figured World Class needs their one belt. So. Actually, we didn't say this on Tuesday. They actually had two belts because the Freebirds had two belts when they came out as tag team champions.
Oh, good for them.
Yeah, and if you don't know what the hell we're talking about, Tuesday, Trey and I talked about the greatest international wrestling Star Wars on the 100th episode of Something Else. So go listen to it. By the way, my girlfriend a few days ago told me she was listening to the show and then she never brought the show up again. So, it's probably best.
Yeah, maybe for the best.
Yeah. So let's actually, I'm going to skip the Primetime Brian Lee promo because there's too much other good audio to play. He threatens to blow Sullivan's head off.
Yeah. Yeah. The point is they're doing a return Russian roulette match, which by the way. I'm just going to jump ahead a little bit later during the segment with Kevin Sullivan. They again show the clip of the fire death match between Matsunaga and Mr. Pogo. So they are doing a rematch of this Russian revolver gimmick, and they are still selling you on the idea that there might be fire.
And it was once again, to spoil it for you, it was again a Singapore spike on a pole match.
Not surprised.
I'm serious. Like, I don't know. I think like someone's got to send Corny a question and hope that Brian Last actually asks it about all this blatant bait and switching that he would do on these shows.
Yeah.
And I mean, Cornette himself will note that the best booking he ever did was in Ohio Valley. Because, I mean, that was after he'd already helped book WCW and already booked Smoky Mountain and helped book the WWF. So, yeah, he had a decade of booking by the time he got to OVW. So he learns from his mistakes. Because, yeah, we talked about something on Tuesday that'll happen in about a year or so with a more hideously blatant bait and switch than this. So let's go now back to Caudle and Dutch because they're going to pitch it to Dirty White Boy, who was in training for the Tennessee Chain match. Let's go to that now.
Fans, the Dirty White Boys in training for the Tennessee chain match this Friday that's going to take place against Tracy Smothers. Right now, let's take a look at this tape and see how the Dirty White Boy trains for this match.
As you can see, I'm right in the middle of Central Park. Ain't it beautiful? You know, we got Trump Plaza over here. We got Brooklyn over here. And we got muggers over there. You know, there's a few things you need when you come around New York City. You need to pack your lunch. You need to bring you a good book. And your old faithful peacemaker. Now, you know, Tracy Smothers, there's a lot of things coming up real soon. And one of those things is a chain match. You see, the reason I'm here is Mr. Wright has sent me out to train real hard with this right here, to make the man proud, because Ron Wright never in his entire career lost a chain match. Well, I'm not about to be the man to bring shame on this chain. Because, you see, I brought a few things with me that kind of reminds me of Tracy Smothers. You know, like that old melon head. Right there. Don't that just look like Tracy Smothers? Yeah, buddy. And I bought big old sack of flour. Looky there. Yeah, for that lily white, gutless, nothing happening individual. And then, oh, Breakfast of Champions. Because, you know, I found out Tracy Smothers is full of this. That's the reason the boy can't wrestle one bit. And I'll be damned if the man can beat me with this chain match. You understand what I'm saying, Smothers? You take a real good close look. A lot of things can happen when you get in that ring. I can wrap this around my fist, and I can beat your stinking brains in till you're a bloody pulp. And the only way to win is drag your opponent and touch all four corners. You're looking at 245 pounds of pure nothing but man, baby. Do you think you can drag me around, Smothers? I don't think so, Southern boy. Oh, and I almost forgot. Got a big old sack of dirt for all you East Tennesseans and all the Smoky Mountain area people, because that's what you got under your fingernails. That's what you got in your pockets. That's what your old lady's got in her lip. There's nothing but dirt. You're a bunch of stinking, nothing happening people. And Tracy Smothers, you're going down at the hands of the white boy. You know, Tracy Smothers, this big thing of flour right here reminds me of your lily white guts, boy. And you know what I'm going to do to you, pal? Look here, take a good look. Look at that. Look at that, Smothers. Think about it, Tracy. Think about that. And you know what else? Look here, Melonhead. Take a real good look, boy. Don't that look pretty? That looks like Tracy Smothers' big old head. Anybody for some Smothers? Oh, and I hear you like your women a little thorny, a little bushy, don't you, boy? Huh? Well, come on, Smothers. All you've got to do is show up, punk. Right here. You want to be full of it? Huh? You want to be full of it? Huh? Well, I'm going to get you full of it, punk, because what's going to happen when you show up in this chain match, punk, is just what happened right here. I'm going to beat your stinking skull out, and then I'm going to shove this chain straight down your throat. That's from me to you. All you've got to do, you gutless punk, is show up.
All right. So in the year 2000, there's this famous moment where Hulk Hogan is standing in the ring, and the wall appeared in a building miles down the road. And Hulk Hogan, who needs glasses, saw him and announced, "That's the wall, brother. That's the wall." Well, Dirty White Boy's eyesight is even sharper than Hogan's, because he's standing in Central Park and he can see Trump Plaza, which is a mile down the road, which, okay, maybe, you know, it's March, so there's no, you know, leaves on the trees, whatever. Maybe on a perfect day, you might get like a little bit of a glimpse or something. Brooklyn is 10 miles away from Central Park, and he saw Brooklyn.
I have never been to Central Park, but I have been to East Tennessee, and this motherfucker was somewhere in East Tennessee.
No way!
It's amazing. Just in the fucking woods in East Tennessee somewhere, pretending that he's in Central Park. fucking Dirty White Boy rules. This was fantastic.
I know that they were also taping an episode of Law and Order SVU because there's a woman screaming in the background, and which made White Boy show his gun. And
SVU hadn't started in 2000 or 1993, had it?
No,
but the original Law and Order had started, right?
Original Law and Order was 1990. SVU, I think, was 99. I'm binge watching SVU right now. I'm on the Figure 4 Weekly group chat for the non-Dave and Brian staff members, and which I'm somehow included in. And someone asked what everyone thought about Jacob Fatu's debut on SmackDown, and I'm like, the episode of SVU I watched was good. Olivia Benson solved the crime, which I don't know what episode I was watching, but I mean, Olivia Benson solved the crime. Spoiler alert.
I used to watch a lot of SVU. I liked when the teams were Benson and Stabler and Munch and Finn.
Yeah, that's still where I'm at now. That's I think it's season 8. They're still all together. I know.
That's about the prime.
Yeah, Munch is gone soon. Stabler's gone soon, and sadly, we've reached a point where Ice-T no longer questions what everything is. So you don't need everyone explaining to him what every crime is.
That's a shame. That was the prime days of the show.
Yes, John Mulaney lost his interest in SVU by this point.
Love John Mulaney.
Oh, he's the greatest. By the way, so DWB is training for the match by destroying things with his Tennessee chain. He destroys a bag of flour. He destroys a melon. He destroys a beer. And he tries to destroy a pineapple, but this pineapple was working strong style, and it no-sold the chain.
Pineapples are tough.
Yes.
This was great.
Yeah, so again, Dirty White Boy is in New York City training for this big match. And then back in Sevierville, go ahead.
Because that's where you want to train for a Tennessee team match in Central Park.
I mean, there's probably worse places to train. Maybe.
I suppose.
Tracy Smothers versus Not That Jeff Daniels. Tracy wins with the jaw jacker, and then, oh my God, Dirty White Boy wasn't in New York City. Dirty White Boy has magically appeared and murders Tracy to death with his chain.
And I cannot believe that he was at the third taping of the show that he was on the other 2 episodes of.
I am in shock and awe, not seen since Birdemic. Reno Riggins in what hopefully is his last appearance, Tim Horner in what is not his last appearance, and Dixie Dino might make the save. And then Tracy, who's just been choked and dragged around the ring and left for dead, gets pried off the mat to walk over to Bob Caudle and cut the go-home promo for his Tennessee chain match.
All right, fans, with us right now, here is Tracy Smothers. Tracy, a white boy from behind again with a looked like he tried to choke the life right out of you with it.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Mr. Caudle. Hey, white boy, that's a good thing for you to be wearing that New York Yankees hat and that New York Yankees shirt, because you're just like a stinking Yankee. You gotta jump everybody from behind.
I know you're having a hard time talking.
You're darn right I am. Hey, white boy, I'm looking right at you, man. This Friday night, you will not be coming from behind. It's going to be straight up. I'm going to load my lip with some dip, and I'm going to jack some jaw, Southern style. Friday night, I'm going to kick some ass, big boy, and that's the bottom line.
All right.
You're darn right he's having trouble talking. And, of course, Caudle being Caudle is holding the microphone down by Tracy's dick, so he's got to bend at a 90-degree angle to cut his promo. One of these years, why can't everyone be like Robert Fuller and tell the little fella to hold that microphone up?
Yeah.
But yeah, he's gonna load his lip with some dip, yo.
I don't think you should do that. I was as a former smokeless tobacco user of many years, I can attest that it is not great for you.
Have you tried wrestling a match with some dip in your lip?
I have not, especially not a Tennessee chain match, but other than that, other than his smokeless tobacco habits and his Confederate idolatry, Tracy Smothers fucking rules. Like, perfect Southern Territory babyface. Did some really like nifty little shit on the mat here that I didn't know he had in him. Like I've never seen anyone almost pin somebody with a hammerlock. That was so cool. Tracy Smothers is great.
Yes, I want to point out on the show we've had references to Donald Trump and the Confederate flag. It's best to just ignore politics. Because, yeah. All right. So, yeah, Tracy is hoping to win the Smoky Mountain title this Friday night at the Bluegrass Brawl. He calls DWB a stinking Yankee. And when you're in deep Tennessee, calling someone a stinking Yankee is the worst thing you could say to somebody.
It's funny because I've talked a lot about my emotional attachment to the South and all the issues with it. But yeah, if you called me a Yankee, those are fighting words.
What if I called you a Met?
I would be confused.
Okay, great. Speaking of confusion, let's go to Down and Dirty with Dutch, where Dutch has gone on location to speak with Kevin Sullivan this week.
Was this in Central Park? You think?
It's as much in Central Park as Dirty White Boys promo was in Central Park.
That's fair.
Yeah, let's go to that right now.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to a special edition of Down and Dirty with Dutch. I'm Dutch Mantell, and unfortunately, you're not. A lot of people don't know this, but I have a pre-law background, a pre-med background, and also some pre-psychiatry courses behind me, too. So I figured if Smoky Mountain Wrestling is paying the bill for Kevin Sullivan's psychiatric treatment, I think I might as well get in on the action myself. Now, we're in a secluded place right now, and the master is with me right now for his psychiatry session, with me, I might add. But we're in a secluded place because Mr. Sullivan believes there are people following him.
I call you doctor, Dutch?
Yes, that would be very appropriate. Call me doctor.
I like calling you Dr. Dutch.
Oh, thank you very much. State your name and occupation.
Kevin Sullivan, the master.
The master of what?
The master of the wrestling universe.
The master of the wrestling universe. Now, let me ask you a question right now. Do you believe that you yourself personally and your followers are being bothered or hindered by Smoky Mountain Wrestling in achieving your goals?
Well, Smoky Mountain Wrestling has tried to hinder me every step of the way. They've tried to block me. In fact, they have people follow me all the time.
Who's following you?
They are.
Who are they?
Those people that are following me.
Do they have a name?
They're mindless and faceless people, Dutch. You've probably seen them yourself. They drive around in brown LTDs with Missouri license plates.
A brown LTD with Missouri license plates? I think I've seen that following me around, Kevin. I think they may be following me, too. But let me ask you something. You have some series of matches coming up with Brian Lee, and I got him right here on paper. Now, you've submitted these, right? By the roll of the dice, correct?
Lady luck.
Okay, let me ask you some of these matches, and you just make a brief comment on it. It's called the Prince of Darkness match. Both men will wrestle while blindfolded.
It's one of my favorites. You see, Dutch, I dwell in darkness. I enjoy darkness. I've always have. You see, I believe that the world is split up of children in the light and the men of darkness. And I've always believed in my dreams that the children in the light always go down a dark tunnel, and just before they get to the end of the tunnel, darkness falls on them and ends their career.
Okay, let me ask you this. That's a real good answer there. What about the stretcher match? To win, your opponent must be carried out on a stretcher?
You know, it's like that's when you're going by a car wreck or some great event that just sends chills up your spine, a train wreck, or, you know, just something that makes your day. See, there isn't a referee. The only way you can win the match is your opponent has to get carried out in the ring of a stretcher. It's one of the greatest matches I've ever thought of.
What about this one? the handicap match. If he rows the number 3, Brian Lee will face you and the Night Stalker 2-on-1, all 3 men in the ring at the same time.
See, he's dancing with Lady Luck again. If he throws it and it ends up 3, he ends up wrestling me and the 6'10" Night Stalker, a man that would lay down his life for me.
Okay, ring surrounded by fire. I've never seen this before. You see on your screen, ladies and gentlemen, a tape of the match of this type held in Japan. The entire ring would be surrounded in flames, and there's never been a match like that in the United States. Why fire, Kevin?
Why fire? Fire will purge you of any sins that you have. Fire will purge you and make you clean. And see, Brian Lee, you're full of hatred towards me. See, you're full of aggressions, Brian Lee. I kind of hope that we do have the fire match because it's never been seen in the United States, and I could purge Brian Lee like that.
The next match, Kevin, we're almost through here. Let me see. It's called a Singapore spike match. A box would be placed on top of the ring post. Only one box would contain the golden spike, and the first man to get the spike may use it any way he wants. Your comments on that one and why?
You see, on each ring post, there's a box, but only one box has the golden spike in it. And because the golden spike is mine, I have special vibes to it. I would know where it was.
Okay. Let me ask you this. I don't want to rush here, but the last one is the Brian Lee's choice match. Any type of match Brian wants with any rules if he rolls number 6.
What kind of choice could Brian Lee have facing me? What kind of choice? What kind of choice? What kind of choice? What kind of choice?
That's it.
What kind of choice could Brian Lee possibly have when Sports Entertaining against Kevin Sullivan?
Get burned or get spiked? Or both?
Honestly, I know we're hopefully a lot closer to the end of this feud at this point, because I mean it's been going on for quite a while. Honestly, watching them wrestle makes me never want to watch them wrestle. It's like it's not a great matchup, and I mean it's hard when the baby face is 6'6" and the heel is about 5'6", and Sullivan does as good a job as anybody playing big, but it's just a hard visual to see. And it helps-ish that he has Night Stalker with him, but it's like Brian Lee's never really ended up any good, but like he's especially still green now. And it's a tough match to watch for multiple reasons. I did think they did this promo, honestly, they should have had this promo like 3 weeks ago because we've already had a Russian roulette match. And so it would have made sense for Sullivan to cut this promo a month ago to cut a promo on 6 different matches.
Yeah.
But instead we get it here on the go-home show to the Bluegrass Brawl. I honestly was a bit disappointed with all of the Sullivan promos we've seen over the past 5-6 months in all the different wacky locales that he's been. The on location, in case you weren't sure and weren't watching along, it was the middle of the ring with the lights turned down, and the only lights was Sullivan with a flashlight.
Yes.
I was so disappointed in that. Like I think like the most disappointing was like Caudle didn't even make a snide comment about it, because a lot of times Caudle will point out, the heels doing something bullshitty or Dutch doing something bullshitty. The Caudle just accepted it for, they were on location.
Well, it probably didn't seem like that big a lie after Dirty White Boy said he was in Central Park.
Very, very true. And depending on, Tennessee geography, I don't know if Sevierville is closer to New York or Knoxville is. Because I'm going to imagine Dirty White Boy cut his promo in Jim Cornette's backyard.
And Morristown, which is right outside of Knoxville.
Okay, and Morristown. Is Morristown or Sevierville more northeast?
I think that Sevierville is more north, and Knoxville is more east.
So it's possible either of them could be closer to Central Park.
Okay, where am I? Oh, I
I
didn't
don't.
know Morristown was that far from Knoxville. Okay, so yeah, now I'm looking at the map. Morristown is in fact further north and east of than Sevierville.
Okay, so Morristown, technically, Dirty White Boy is closer to what you call it, not Times Square, Central Park, than Kevin Sullivan and Dutch Mantell were. So apologies to the great Dirty White Boy for besmirching his name here. It was another great promo. Like it's sad that like great promos in this stage have become so passe. That's like all I can say. It's like, oh, it was a great promo. And
Yeah.
you know, again,
It's just nice. It's nice to have great promos to the point that they're just par for the course.
we'll be begging for some great promos when we get to episodes 180 and 190 because this show falls off a cliff the last 10 episodes. Like,
really?
Oh yeah. They do the Super Bowl of Wrestling in August '95, and it's like 3 or 4 episodes are just the Super Bowl of Wrestling, and then that's when the show dies. And I think that's when, and I don't know the exact time frame, but it would make sense. I think that's when, what's his name pulled his money out because,
Kirk Rubin.
yeah, because it becomes a very different show at the end. I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to Balls Mahoney being a push babyface. I'm not looking forward to the Wolfman. The fucking headbangers are in an important part of the show. It's like this is 1995, people. We're going to be begging for even the worst parts in '93. You're going to be begging for Tim Horner by the end of this. By the time we finish this series.
Bite your tongue.
Oh, I say that now. Just wait. But the last bright spot, honestly, is Buddy Landell. And I don't know how much of Smoky Mountain you've really watched, but there is an amazing promo leading to the Super Bowl of Wrestling where he essentially turns babyface before a match with Shawn Michaels. And it is legitimately one of the best promos in wrestling history.
Yeah, that was Buddy Landell, Shawn Michaels. Is that the same show that The Undertaker wrestled his future brother Unabomb?
Yes. And actually, it's funny because Unabomb is still a pushed heel in Smoky Mountain in August of '95, while at the same time, he's cartoonish Dr. Isaac Yankem DDS in the WWF for
Oh, yeah.
for the SummerSlam '95. Well, not the main event, but one of the main events. A year earlier at SummerSlam '94, Undertaker is taking on Smoky Mountain top heel at the time, primetime Brian Lee, as the fake Undertaker.
Yeah.
I've been meaning to ask Jim what he thought about two of his top heels being cartoon characters at the same time he's pushing them as serious heels.
Can't imagine he was a fan of it.
I can't imagine he was.
Still wasn't as bad as what they did to the Basham brothers later.
Before or after Shaniqua?
The Shaniqua was a whole other level of bad. I was talking about the fact that they were feuding in OVW, and then the WWE called them up, put them as a tag team, and had one of them shave his head with just no warning to Cornette, and he comes back and has got a shave head, and Cornette's like, "What the fuck? You couldn't have said something. I could have drawn some money with a fucking air match."
Because the creative team couldn't imagine what he looked like bald.
Yeah.
I honestly, and I know she sucked in the ring, but I loved Linda Miles. Like I was majorly attracted to her, but I think that is I was majorly attracted to tall female basketball players thing at the time. Because Rebecca Lobo was one of my early celebrity crushes.
I like the deal they did where Bradshaw hit her in the chest with the clothesline from hell, and then she came back with fake tits, like it was swelling from the clothesline.
Yes. Do you remember when, and I don't know if they only did this on Velocity, which might explain why nobody remembers this. They did an angle where Bradshaw was convinced that Shelton Benjamin was Shaniqua, and it culminated in a skit where Charlie Haas went to Shelton Benjamin and said he had to prove that he wasn't Shaniqua, and how better to prove it than by wearing a wig and lipstick. And of course, Bradshaw walks in while Shelton is doing this, and it's like, it was absurd. Just like, I don't say how much Shelton looked like Shaniqua, but it's like, there was enough of a passing resemblance. You're like, holy fuck.
So what you're telling me is that even before JBL, Bradshaw was playing the character of Vince McMahon?
Yes. See, that was nice. I was going to say that. You were going to say before JBL, Bradshaw was playing the character of being a dick.
That's not a character.
There was like one JBL skit that I absolutely loved, and that was when he turned heel and started the JBL character, and he's trying to convince Kurt Angle why he deserves a title match against Eddie Guerrero, and he shows a skit of him at the U.S.-Mexican border beating up people jumping the border, and It was so preposterously ridiculous that I loved every second of it.
Yes. Sorry.
No worries.
I've been kind of under the weather, so I keep muting myself to cough.
Hey, it's better than, usually in January on this show is when either we have long stretches of this audio being muted or me just flagrantly coughing into the microphone. You know?
Yeah, I'm going to try real hard not to cough into the microphone.
I appreciate it. So part of why, I kind of went off on this tangent was to try to break up the long audio that we're going to be playing here, because we went from 5 minutes of Kevin Sullivan and Dr. Dutch to another fantastic but lengthy promo here with the Rock and Roll Express, Arn Anderson, and a special appearance by our trusty old commissioner. I said trusty, not crusty. Bullet Bob Armstrong.
All right, fans, with me right now here at the Rock and Roll Express, Arn Anderson and Commissioner Bob Armstrong. Commissioner, we're having a lot of problems lately in Smoky Mountain Wrestling.
You know, I'm the first to admit that Smoky Mountain needs a good house cleaning. I've tried finding these guys. I've even suspended Paul Orndorff indefinitely. But what these guys need is action, forced action. That's what they're going to get. Now, primetime Brian Lee's going to get his shot at Kevin Sullivan, but in case he don't get the job done, I've got a line a mile long just wanting to crawl through the ring and find him $5,000. His followers came up with the money. I hadn't got to that guy yet, but it ain't over. But next Friday night at the Bluegrass Brawl, brother, it's going to be something to see. 3 teams, 9 men go into the ring. As one man gets beat, his whole team is eliminated. The last team in the ring will be the winner, and we'll finally see who's the toughest of them all. It's going to be like the law of the jungle. Survival of the fittest, only the strong shall survive. The Great Smoky Mountain Showdown is going to be something to see in Pikeville.
And I know there's a team right here that is planning on being the one surviving.
That's right. The showdown is going to come down to it now. You see, with this combination right here, Jimmy Cornette, the stud stable, we don't care what it takes, because when that match is over, this team right here is going to be the team left in the ring.
Arn, I know you feel that it's really going to happen, and it's going to happen Friday night.
Well, I'm no master mathematician, but the way it breaks down is like this. It's 3 groups of 3.
Yep.
I've always said there's safety in numbers. So, Cornette, you're the 4th guy. Well, I've had this strange cramping in my arm. It's been going on the last couple of weeks. Maybe it means something, maybe it doesn't. But it's been cramping in its position like this. Maybe some of these people out here can remember what this means. It's called the symbol of excellence. In the 80s, as in the 90s, it meant one other thing. You want a collection of broken bones? You want to get hurt? Then you jump on the horseman. I've heard Ricky Morton in my career. I've heard Robert Gibson. They have returned in kind many times. But you see, in my stupidity out here harping about my former friendship with Bobby Eaton, I forgot about the other team. Dutch Mantell, Jimmy Golden, Robert Fuller, the stud stable. And Robert Fuller's been out here running his mouth about how he's going to get to my bad leg. Well, Robert Fuller, I thrive on pain. There's a little idiosyncrasy in the back of my mind that the more I get hurt, the more I like it. Maybe it was some girl from St. Louis that instilled that to me one night. But one thing I can guarantee, the 3 of you, or the 6 of you, on this given night, somebody's going to get hurt. No ring will contain it. No ring should contain it. Anyone with children, leave them at home. Wow. Somebody's going to have to bow out. Any of the 6 of you want to take a powder, go ahead, because the life you save may be your own.
All right, fans.
That's right, Bob. You know, you talk about the stud stable. You know what you do to a stud, Arn? You gild them, baby. That's the only way to take care of them. And that's what's going to happen. Because Jimmy Golden, Robert Fuller, and Dutch Mantell, we have to forget about all the things that you've done to us, too. So, baby, we'll be waiting on you right there in Pikeville.
All right, the Bluegrass Brawl fans, it all comes down.
I liked when Arn said the part about if you've got children, leave that at home. Because Cottle kind of had to look like, dude, we don't sell enough tickets to leave half of our audience sitting at home. Let them come and buy their $8 tickets. Love the promo.
I'm so hyped for the Great Smoky Mountain Showdown at the Bluegrass Brawl.
Let me see what you think. And this could just be me nitpicking because, and I've really been nitpicking a lot of this shit lately. But Anderson teases there's going to be 4 people, that they're going to have a 4th person in their corner when he does the 4 horsemen hand sign. And spoiler alert, there's not going to be a 4th person in their corner. And
yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I get, you know, again, these aren't written promos. Corny isn't telling him word by word what to say. But I like to think Cornette did tell him to go out there and say, oh, yeah, tease that we're going to have a 4th guy. And especially when you think about the 4 horsemen, you think about Arn Anderson, you think about how they're just bringing in people from WCW. Who the hell do you think is going to show up on Friday? Like, my first thought is, holy fuck, Flair's going to be there? But Flair's not going to be there.
Yeah. This is at the same time in WCW that Flair has just come back from the WWF and Arn has just come back from injury, and they are kind of slowly easing into the storyline. It's going to result in the reformation of the Horsemen. So I don't know if maybe, Arn was just teasing or trying to keep some synchronicity between storylines. I don't know.
And by the way, Paul Roma will also not be on the show Friday, so we can't even say, oh, well, at least I got Roma. But Gibson cuts another 5-star promo by keeping his mouth shut.
Yeah.
And Arn talking them into the building. And as much as I said that, you know, the stud stable is being forgotten now in the last few weeks, they definitely went in the right order. Because
I am ready.
Yeah.
I am ready to go to Pikeville, Kentucky for the Bluegrass Brawl.
I wish I could get into a time machine and go back in time and relive basically this entire Smoky Mountain era.
Yes.
I think partially just to see if the fans are as stupid as people have strongly stated that they are. And, you know, try not to call people stupid, but you hear some of these stories and you tend to believe it.
Remember Jericho's Strange Kentucky People story?
Yes. It's too bad that is not a video that has ever aired on the internet.
Go find Chris Jericho's first book, A Lion's Tale, and read the chapter titled Strange Kentucky People.
Oh boy. And hey, and you know, you could say these people are blasphemous, but they hung their picture of Jesus Christ up level with the Rock and Roll Express. That's huge publicity for Jesus.
Yeah, it's nice to give Jesus a rub.
Yeah.
Ricky and Robert and Jesus.
Then we get our main event, and we get Trey's favorite wrestler, Thunder rolls and the lightning strikes.
Did he listen to the fucking song? Did he
Probably
did
not.
Did he just hear lightning strikes and go, oh goddamn it, I'm White Lightning Tim Warner. That's gonna be my song. The fucking song is about a woman murdering her unfaithful husband.
White Lightning.
He couldn't even do White Lightning by George Jones and had a fucking song about your papaw making illegal liquor and hiding from the revenuers. At least that song is called White Lightning and it fucking makes some kind of sense.
Nope. And he can't even say, well, they were just trying to avoid, having to pay for music because they didn't fucking pay for Thunder Rolls.
Ain't nobody paying for no fucking music in this territory.
No. It's like, watching ECW and thinking, oh, Paul E could have saved some money by not using all this licensed music, as if Paul E paid for the music.
Yeah, Paul E didn't pay for shit. But so classic Midnight Express when Bobby and Cornette hugged each other and the crowd booed and they just acted baffled. Why would these awful people boo their friendship and affection?
I know, right? So it's Beat the TV champion Tim Horner versus Bobby Eaton with Jim Cornette. Some fine mat wrestling to start the match. And I know everyone is shocked that Tim Horner and Bob E. Eaton could have a good wrestling match, but here we are.
This match is actually good. Like, Horner's not bad. He's just fucking Tim Horner. And Bobby Eaton is Bobby Eaton, which is like automatically you're starting. It's if you're starting from a place that you have Bobby Eaton as half of the match, it's kind of hard to fuck it up.
Now, I did have to laugh because the visual of Tim Horner fucking Tim Horner. That seems like something he'd somehow managed to do.
I bet it looks something like when he did that roll through Boston Crab on Bobby in this match.
So, a few minutes into the match, a random photographer walks in front of the camera to take a picture, and Cornette basically yells at her to get back over to the side. And I thought that she was somehow getting involved in the match, but nope, just someone getting out of her way and having to be told to get the fuck back.
I was having flashes of Yokozuna and Hulk Hogan at King of the Ring in just a few months.
So you think Cornette's gonna throw a fireball here out of the camera?
He could have. It would have been any great loss. By the way, speaking of random, just during this match, Bob Caudle casually drops that Tim Horner and the Rock and Roll Express are going to face the Heavenly Bodies this Saturday in Morristown in a barbed wire steel cage match.
I apparently was not paying attention because I did not.
How did you miss that? Yeah.
I don't know. I was too busy making quips about like how when Horner locked on the figure four and while the referee was asking Eaton if he quit, Cornette hits Horner in the head with a tennis racket. But don't worry because it's Tim Horner, so it didn't hurt him.
He landed on his back, it might have hurt something. He landed on his head, he's fine.
I had to replay the finish because I was too busy marking out. Not for the finish, but
fucking Brian Hildebrand. Oh my god.
So the finish, Eaton goes for a slingshot suplex, but Horner lands on his feet from behind and he goes for the natural bridge. Now, for those who haven't heard me describe it, essentially it starts like Doug Williams' Chaos Theory. You grab in a waist lock, you hit, in this case, you hit the ropes, and you roll backwards and then bridge backwards. They were running towards Hildebrand, and I would like to think that this was planned because it doesn't seem like something Hildebrand would go out of his way to steal the spotlight of a match like this. But they were running towards Hildebrand, and Hildebrand does a leapfrog over these two men who are pretty much, like they were bent a little bit, but they were pretty much standing straight up. And Horner's like 5'10", Bob Eaton's like 6'1". So like there's still good-sized men here, and Hildebrand's short as fuck, and he does a full leapfrog over the two of them.
Yeah. Mark Curtis, Brian Hildebrand, God rest your soul.
I honestly, I saw it and I had to rewind to see it again because I'm like, I didn't just see that. It's like, but that is what happened. And
everybody said that if he hadn't been so small, Brian would have been a big wrestling star because he was so good.
And I guess it had to be planned because he does the leapfrog over them. And as Horner and Eaton go into the ropes, Horner's between the top and middle rope going to pull Eaton back. And Cornette, with great timing, waylays Horner in the head with the tennis racket. And I guess, even though I just said that it didn't hurt him when he got hit the first time, maybe something happened the second time because Horner got knocked the fuck out. Eaton, I know not only did Eaton cover him and get the pin, he also grabbed a handful of trunks. So a heel through and through here. And Bobby, to the joy of Trey, who marked out more for the 3 count than the leapfrog, Bobby Eaton is your new Beat the Champ TV champion.
So, do you think that Cornette asked Hildebrand, hey, can you do this? Or do you think Hildebrand told Cornette, hey, can I do this?
I think, and I could be wrong, but my guess is they were going over the finish and trying to come up with a way to momentarily distract Mark Curtis. And, everything else was probably a little too passe. Maybe to think about just bumping him or whatever. But Hildebrand's probably like, hey, I can leapfrog over him. And
because it's not just a high spot for a pop. It is like integral to the finish. Brian fucking leapfrogs these guys, and then behind his back, Cornette hits Horner with a tennis racket.
And the worst part was the announcers don't even mention it. And I get that it was more important to talk about, Eaton winning, but damn. Like,
this was great. Everybody did a great job here, and I will grudgingly include Tim Horner in that everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if Hildebrand wouldn't have come up with the idea, or whomever did, they could have just had Killer Kyle come out and run interference for a second while Cornette smacked him in the head with the racket. But this worked so much better.
This was awesome.
And speaking of awesome, we have to end the show with another amazing promo. Let's go to Bob Caudle with Jim Cornette, Dr. Tom, Stan Lane, and our new Beat the Champ TV champion. And by the way, this is one of those promos also that are better if you're watching the video. So I'd strongly recommend checking out the video on YouTube. But let's go to that right now.
Jim Cornette to Heavenly Bodies. Jim Cornette.
Hey, you're your own champion. Now give me my belt back, man. Come on.
Hey, come on now. Now, wait a minute. Hey, wait a minute. You keep that belt, Bobby. You keep that check. Shut up. Check. Quit.
I want that too.
You're exposing everything.
Here, Bobby, you can hold my belt.
I won't come.
Heavens.
Would you please let me just say this? All these genetic defects out here, they've heard and they've seen a lot of stuff in this program. Arn Anderson out here running off at the mouth, stud stable, runs off at the mouth, quit. I'll tell you what's going to happen. The greatest combination in wrestling. Tom Pritchard, Stan Lane, and beautiful Bobby Eaton, the Heavenly Bodies, this Friday night in Pikeville, Kentucky at that Bluegrass Brawl, brother. We're going to take care of some business. We're going to get the stud stable out of our hair. We're going to get rid of the Rock and Roll Express. And if we have to in the process, we're going to take care of Arn Anderson too. Street fight rules. You ask anybody. The Heavenly Bodies, since the formation of Smoky Mountain Wrestling, have never lost a Smoky Mountain street fight. But now, for the first time ever, there's 3 teams and 3 men on each team. 9 guys going crazy. But when the smoke clears, the dust settles, and the bell rings, the Heavenly Bodies will be standing there with their hands in the air. The Smoky Mountain Tag Team title, the Beat the Champ TV title, all the money, all the gold, all the women, all the glory, and Jim Cornette calling the shots. Bluegrass Brawl, Pikeville, Kentucky this Friday night. You've never seen anything like it, and you never will again. That's all I got.
Looks to me like you have to get all these guys on the same tune.
Everybody's in tune. You're just instigating, just like all the rest of these people out there. If they would leave it alone, stuff like that wouldn't happen.
Friday night, fans.
You come with.
Oh, Lord. It's a great Cornette promo, but like I said, it's even better watching the video of it. And I was marking out again watching it here. Because while Cornette's plugging the Bluegrass Brawl, he talks about how, the Heavenly Bodies have never lost the Smoky Mountain Street Fight, and they haven't. While this is going on, Stan Lane gives Bobby Eaton his title belt, and Bobby Eaton sticks the $1,000 check in between the leather part of the belt and the plate. And then while Eaton is doing whatever, Stan Lane takes the belt from him and sees the check, and he takes the check and puts it in his robe. And you see Eaton kind of take a look like, wait, where
Bobby's
the fuck's
like,
my
hey,
check?
fucker.
And Stan's kind of like, got that. I just got caught trying to steal the check look on his face. And pulls it out and gives it to beautiful Bobby.
You know those like underneath your clothes money belts that people wear on vacation when they're scared of getting robbed and stuff?
Yep.
One of those should be the Beat the Champ TV championship.
So not the
check in the belt.
So not the Beat the Champ fax machine.
Oh yeah. Well, just so many good ideas. If only we could get that time machine working and go and pitch all these great ideas to Cornette.
See now, every week now we're gonna have to come up with a gimmick of a new thing that could have been used as the Beat the Champ title belt. And the pressure's on you because you came up with the fax machine and now the belt that hides under your clothes.
Fucking Warner's rubber that he was using to fuck the office girl.
Ham Lawson. They're fighting for the Beat the Champ condom. How else do you beat the champ?
Beat the champ off.
There you go. By the way, apparently on Monday Night Raw, whatever character Nikki Cross plays, gave Michael Cole a VHS tape to play. And
oh my god, are you serious? That's fucking fantastic.
Yes. And apparently the WWE production truck had a VCR ready to play it too. So,
that was the last vestige of Kevin Dunn, the one VCR in the production truck.
Yeah, Jim, you're a little too southern for our audience.
Bucky Beaver, motherfucker.
Oh Lord. I thought I heard something a few years ago that Kevin Dunn finally got surgery on his teeth. I don't know how true it is, but I heard that rumor.
He doesn't fucking deserve it.
Well, 61 down, 139 to go. And, we're coming to the end of this fantastic rivalry. And it's going to go on a little bit further. And thankfully for now, and unthankfully for 3 years from now, Cornette is going to shoot his next big angle shortly, which is going to carry us for a little while. And it's another great angle. It's one that they really overdo by the time we get to November 26, 1995. But
that's exciting. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what happens with I know we're gonna end up taking some trips to New York here in a couple of months, but I don't know what happens with the bodies and Smoky Mountain going forward.
Oh yeah, that's coming to a head soon too. We'll get to that.
How much longer is Stan gonna be here?
I haven't looked, but I think he's gone in a month.
Let's look it up right now.
Oh, I kind of want it to be a surprise. Like, I know how it happened, but yeah, I think he's gone by May. Because he finally retires. Well, I mean, he comes back to do the occasional Legends match or whatever, but by and large, he is DUNN done in professional wrestling. So May 15th.
He is not long for Smoky Mountain Wrestling. Do you know, connecting back to things that we talked about on the World Class show, Stan Lane's going to do a war tour at the end of the year.
A war tour? Yes, he is.
a tour of oh my god, these fucking matches.
Mil,
Mil Mascaris against Stan
and
Lane.
see, I was looking at Mil Mascaris and Ultimo Dragon versus Stan Lane and John Tenta.
Oh, that sounds just amazing.
Or
Also, the
super,
fact Stan Lane has a singles match with Ultimo Dragon.
or Super Strong Machine and Ultimo Dragon versus John Tenta and Stan Lane.
That's fucking out there. Love that.
But yeah, so unfortunately, we're closer to the end of Stan Lane than the beginning, and the who's you call it? I forgot what the hell I was going to say. Oh yeah, he's going to be in the WWF next year as an announcer.
Oh yeah, forgot about that. I think everybody
Actually,
thinks about that.
It may have been 95, but but either way. But before we get going, we're going to tell you what else is happening this week in wrestling to finish up. And the big news of this week comes from WCW, but the big news from the week is on the WCW radio show that would air Sunday nights in Atlanta, hosted by Jim Ross. He had Vince McMahon on, where they announced that Jim Ross has signed with the WWF and will be commentating WrestleMania 9 on
In
the
a toga.
WCW radio show.
Did they mention the togas?
I don't know, but I can tell you Vince, Bobby Eaton, and Shawn Michaels were all on this WCW radio show. Which, yeah.
Wow. That is big news.
Yep. And of course, WrestleMania is 1 week away and is expected to sell out Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas, but it's also expected to be the lowest buy rate in WrestleMania history, even with the return of Hulk Hogan.
Such a disaster that they would not return to Vegas for WrestleMania until 2025.
Yes. Let's be honest, it cannot be any worse.
That actually, if my finances were in better order, WrestleMania weekend in Vegas sounds like a hell of a lot of fun.
Now, who was it that we said that if they're at WrestleMania weekend, you're going to go just to ask one silly question to?
Could be anybody. Was it Stan Hansen? Was it Ted DiBiase?
I think it was Stan Hansen, because you're going to ask them something completely ridiculous and
who chops harder? Who chops harder, Wahoo McDaniel or Kenta Kobashi? Which I maintain is a valid question.
Somehow I thought your question was more ridiculous than that, because that seems like a perfectly logical question.
Very logical.
Yeah. By the way, the last piece of news is not even really that much of a news story, considering what it is at the time, but it plays into the near future. Smoky Mountain Wrestling has applied for membership with the NWA, which theoretically gives them dates on the NWA champion, who is Barry Windham at this point. Although Dennis Coraluzzo is an NWA promoter, and he hasn't been able to get dates since the title was reestablished last year with Chono and then Muda. So, to be honest, it's a nothing news story, but it's going to be an important part of the next 5 months of the NWA. And,
Yeah, an even more turbulent 1994 for the NWA.
Yeah, Bruce. I wish maybe they did this and I just didn't know it. I'm honestly shocked that even TNA, when they were doing the NWA title, they didn't, try to pop a weekly pay-per-view buy rate by announcing that Shane Douglas was going to challenge for the NWA World title, with like the promise that if he wins, he's going to throw the belt down again. And, I'm shocked that no one ever really did that. You would think like that would be easy, maybe not easy money, but that'd be an easy angle. What?
Court Bauer did that on the very first MLW show of the original MLW in 2002. The first show was they did a tournament for the MLW World title, and they did exactly that. Shane Douglas won and then threw the belt down, and then they ended up vacating it. And like apparently when they do the video of champions before their title matches, they don't even include Shane Douglas.
Interesting. See,
I asked Court about it. I asked Court about it on Twitter one time many years ago, and he just said, yeah, I was 22 and a shitty booker."
I uh I actually I had no idea that even happened. But many, many moons ago I met Shane Douglas and I asked him, like I was talking to him about the tossing of the NWA title thing, and we kind of agreed because ECW, like it's so romanticized now because of how big it would get. ECW was nothing in 1994. Like it was an indie company that had shows in Philadelphia and some surrounding cities. But like it wasn't 1998 ECW. It was, a show that was building some underground momentum. And we talked about like if somehow like ECW had failed and that whole thing backfired, it could have really been detrimental to his career at the time.
Shane Douglas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, God, he'd already fucking burned bridges plenty of places and would continue to burn bridges for years and decades to come.
I'll be honest, I love the idea of Dean Douglas, but it just didn't really work. And especially when I, and I guess the Click's excuse as to why they buried him was that he wasn't having good matches with the 1-2-3 Kid. And figuring if you can't have a good match with the Kid, then you really suck. And
I mean, they're not wrong, I don't think.
yeah, but I mean, it's like it didn't help that his gimmick was what it was. And it I mean, for fuck's sake, like when Mick Foley tells the story that, when he went to meet Vince, Vince wanted his name to be Mason the Mutilator.
All time fucking terrible. Let us never forget that Stone Cold Steve Austin in another universe was Chili McFreeze.
Yeah. It's like the name means so much because it's like if you had Stone Cold Steve Austin, but his name was Chili McFreeze, and you had Mankind, but he was Mason the Mutilator, and they were the exact same people, it would not have worked. And you start wondering how many people ever, I maybe not argue, but when Vince gives them these god awful names and gimmicks, that they try to come up with something better. And thankfully Jeannie Clark, is a tea drinker, and thankfully Mick Foley thinks quickly on his feet.
I always appreciated the guys who in the 2000s, I can't remember who it was that had the line. Maybe like, I don't know, Jimmy Yang or somebody random like that. But he got the line, creative has nothing for you, and he hit him back with, well, fire creative. It's their job.
Yeah. It's like, it's such a bullshit thing, and it's like, okay, we're doing this because we, are trying to just appease you to come up with something. My favorite was when they were going to put Rob Conway and either Sylvain Grenier or Rene Dupree back together as La Resistance, and they had the tights made for them and all that shit. And they then fired Rob Conway and told him creative had nothing for him. It's like, dude, you just made me new gear for my new tag team or my new old tag team. How the hell do they have nothing for me?
This is like fucked up and stupid and kind of homophobic, but like at the time, like when La Resistance was a thing, I knew this guy who was like a friend of a friend, and we would go over and watch pay-per-views sometimes. And he called La Resistance Dick and Booty.
I don't know if I could beat that, but you're
just felt like sharing that with everybody.
Do you remember when I think it was when they were Conway and Grenier, they wrestled Batista in a handicap match, and Batista shoved the flagpole up their ass, quote unquote?
Yes.
Yes.
And they were the fucking tag team champions.
Either they were the tag team champions or they were about to become the tag team champions, because it was when Eugene blew out his knee.
Yeah. If I remember right, they were the tag team champions. And by the way, who Eugene blows is his own business.
Are we back to talking about dicks again on this show? We made it almost 2 whole shows and 3 whole hours without talking about penises. Actually, no, that's wrong because I made the comment about Tim Horner fucking Tim Horner. So yeah, it's my fault. Never mind.
Like somebody's going hot and spitting on that thing.
Okay. Okay. And maybe I should have actually looked this up. What the fuck is that?
Oh, so I don't know what the context was, but they were like interviewing random bystanders and they were asking them like, what's your go-to sex move? And this girl who seems like a hell of a lot of fun, who I'd love to hang out with, she goes, you gotta good spit on that thing.
Okay. See, I want.
So yeah, if you're listening to this in the future, the week that was a meme is the week that we recorded this.
I wanted to believe because I saw a lot of my weird, wacky sexual friends making a joke about that. So I wanted to believe that it's like it was something relatively innocent that people with dirty minds turned it into something more. But no, by the sounds of it, it was people with dirty. It was somebody who dirty, and yeah.
Tell me more about your weird, wacky sexual friends.
It's probably best, for their sake, we not to out them here on this highly rated podcast program.
I guess we can just end the show then.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, Hotline fans, a major wrestling superstar was allegedly cited this past week in the offices of World Championship Wrestling. I can't talk about it here, but I can talk about it on the hotline. 1-900-909-9900. Children, get your parents' permission today.
My mama would have whipped my ass.
Oh, my mama blocked 1-900 numbers because one of our cousins ran up a bill calling one of those 1-900 lines.
Honest, Mom, it was wrestling.
I still remember, and I don't know what show it was. I told myself it was Starrcade 95, but I think it was Super Brawl 6. That, and this is before Hall and Nash officially jumped, but Mean Gene did a hotline plug saying something like 2 major WWF wrestlers are jumping ship to WCW and call the hotline to find out. And I had no fucking idea. And then it was Hall and Nash a few months later.
Long-term storytelling.
Exactly. And of course, also Mean Gene was always full of shit on that thing anyway, because I think the one time after Big John Studd died, which was right after Ric Flair lost his retirement match to Hogan, he did a hotline plug that was like, what recently retired wrestler died this week? Call the hotline to find out. Yeah. And I guess, yeah, when you die, you are recently retired because, much like how David Von Erich lived up to his promise that he would stop wrestling if he didn't win the world title.
Indeed.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, it's probably time to end the show. Been talking for a while. But before we go, do you want to say anything to the little people listening out there?
No. Follow me on Twitter. Go look up the dumb name that I fucking came up with.
Do you want to share the dumb name you came up with?
It's Oregatre, Oregatre.
One of these years we're gonna plug it and then you're gonna change it in the 2 days before we post the show, and then somebody will be trying to find you and can't.
Yeah.
And you'll miss out
I've been through at least a dozen Twitter accounts.
You'll miss out on ones of extra Twitter followers. But
what a shame.
Yes. But hey, that's going to do it for this week's show. Thank everybody for listening. Listen to all the fucking shows that I post because I don't just do these for my health. Or maybe I do because my mental health is pretty good now that I talk about wrestling multiple times a week. But anyway, thank you all for listening. I'll talk to you again next week sometime.
Bye.